In the new Nigeria, it is easier to do business, and the National Productivity Center is here to ensure efficiency in your resource application so that your output is more and of better quality. Build a solid productivity system today. Contact the National Productivity Center. National Productivity Center, your key to growth.
I am Elizabeth Abai. I am here to talk about facts. There is so much misinformation and distortion out there, especially on the social media. All it takes is just a click and the fake news goes viral. However, here in NTA, we deal with facts.
My job is to go out there and comb for factual news and information just the way it is, all in the interest of the nation. I'm Naja Atutijani.
Here on the NTA, we present only the facts, verified. Beware of fake news, don't be a victim. Stay tuned to the NTA.
Especially at this time.
His strong appeal is that as much as possible, we should encourage people to observe the basic instructions that have been issued.
As Nigeria intensifies effort to contain the coronavirus pandemic, President Muhammadu Buhari pleads for more patience by Nigerians.
My family and I, we visit an orphanage. We take things there.
Christian faithful mark Good Friday in their respective homes amidst lockdown. Plus, OPEC and non-members resolve to cut crude oil production by 10 million barrels per day from 1st May this year. Good evening and welcome to NTA Network News. We are beaming live from the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. I am Jumma Yusuf. Thanks for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari has pleaded for more patience and understanding by Nigerians as efforts are intensified by government towards containing the coronavirus pandemic in the country. At a strategic engagement with the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, the Nigerian leader is optimistic that the curve will be flattened and the nation aggressively and appropriately respond to the uncommon enemy of mankind. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has the report.
The Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, led by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Boss Mustafa, acquainted President Muhammadu Buhari with details of the work being done in line with his mandate towards containing the coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria. President Buhari, who expressed satisfaction with the transparent way and manner the task force engages critical stakeholders in carrying out assigned responsibilities, believes that Nigeria will come out of the situation stronger and as quickly as possible.
We had a very, very strong appeal to the Nigerian people for patience, for understanding. We are dealing with an uncommon enemy. We are dealing with an enemy that we can't see, we can't predict. So he appreciates that. And his strong appeal is that as much as possible, we should encourage people to observe the basic instructions that have been issued in terms of keeping social distancing, washing of hands, maintaining cleanliness, and staying at home. If we maintain these basic things, we'll be able to achieve the desired objective. And he also spoke about his desire, seeing that this thing is over as quickly as possible so that our farmers can go back to the land, to till the land. The cropping season is approaching very, very fast because the strength of a nation is its ability to feed itself.
During the meeting held behind closed doors, the Presidential Task Force provided the Nigerian leader with the basic facts on ground as well as options that will guide him in deciding whether or not the cessation of all movements in parts of the country is to be extended. Is Nigeria winning this fight against coronavirus pandemic?
I think we are. By and large. The lockdown has tremendously helped us in curtailing the spread of it. And it has given us the opportunity to be able to track the contacts Over 90% of the contacts of the index case and other cases that arose have been tracked, and their status are being established. It's not everybody that will be tested. It's when you manifest the symptoms that you are supposed to subject yourself to a test. So I think by and large, we are winning in that area. We are not there yet. With the support and cooperation of Nigerians, we will be able to minimize or reduce infection, getting to the level of community transmission. And that's why we are appealing to Nigerians. If you have no business going out, stay indoors. Preserve your loved ones, your family, before you think about going out to make a living.
The chairman of the Presidential Task Force was accompanied to the State House by the National Coordinator of the Task Force, Dr. Sani Aliyu, Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Ihanure, and the Director General, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, Dr. Chikwe Ihekwazu. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
As the federal government continues to dish out palliative measures to Nigerians, there are strong indications that more economic stimulus measures are to be introduced by the federal government towards cushioning the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic on the nation's poor and the vulnerable. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo dropped this hint while speaking to NTA News after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari. State House correspondent Adamu Sambu has the details.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo is the chairman of the High-Powered Economic Sustainability Committee constituted by President Muhammadu Buhari as part of the national response strategy towards alleviating the suffering of Nigerians as the country battles the COVID-19 pandemic. At this meeting, President Buhari and Vice President Osinbajo compared notes on what more can be done for the poor in the face of the stringent measures put in place by government to check the spread of coronavirus in the country. The Vice President told NTA News that discussions centered on how to resolve some of the very pressing issues around COVID-19 and indeed the economy.
What we're concerned about is how to ensure that the economy remains stable, that jobs are protected, and that if even possible, more jobs are created. The President has expressed very serious concern about the problems that may be associated with the lockdown. Many of our people work for a daily wage. They have to go out to work and all of that every day. So we have to think in terms of how to ensure that that we're able to give them some succor during a period when they are not able to work. So some of those issues are some of the issues that Mr. President wanted me to discuss fully with him.
Full report of the Economic Sustainability Committee containing thoughts and ideas of members on the best way forward for Nigeria will soon be submitted to the President. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The numbers continue to rise, and the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, says as at 9:30 p.m. 9th April, 14 new cases of COVID-19 have been reported in Nigeria, bringing the total of confirmed cases to 288. Of the 14 new cases, 13 are in Lagos and 1 in Delta State. 51 patients have so far been discharged and 7 deaths recorded. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, yesterday apologized for erroneously reporting 2 new cases in Bauchi. NCDC states that following further review, it was confirmed that there were repeat tests for previously confirmed cases. They assured Nigerians that they remain committed to ensuring transparent and accurate reporting of test results. Yemen confirms first coronavirus case, while South Africa extends nationwide lockdown amid rising case of the virus. Adebola Brooks Sunday has more on the update on the coronavirus pandemic as global death toll surpasses 100,000.
Thanks for joining me. It's been over 13 weeks since the world first heard of coronavirus, and data collated by Johns Hopkins University shows that 1,000,000 652,655 people have been infected by coronavirus globally, while 100,371 people have died, with 369,938 recoveries. The United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres warned the UN Security Council that the coronavirus pandemic is threatening international peace and security, potentially leading to an increase in social unrest and violence that would greatly undermine the ability to fight the disease. Back in Africa, the main opposition party has warned the decision to extend South Africa's lockdown until the end of April that it will increase an economic disaster. The country has already been under lockdown for 2 weeks, which was due to be lifted in a week. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund's Executive Board has approved a disbursement of $147 million under its rapid financing instruments to help Gabon confront the impact of coronavirus pandemic. In a related development in the Middle East, Yemen has left the list of COVID-19 free countries when it recorded its first coronavirus case in Hadramaut province, raising fears of catastrophic consequences in a healthcare system broken by 5 years of war. And in China, the National Health Commission says the Chinese mainland reported 42 new confirmed cases, of which 38 were imported from abroad. The 4 new domestically transmitted cases included 3 in Guangdong province and 1 in Heilongjiang province. And the United States of America also reported 456,828 confirmed cases, and the number of deaths now reached 17,061, while 26,050 have recovered as at 6:45 p.m. local time. There's, however, a good news from the United Kingdom, as British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is in very good spirit after leaving intensive care back to the ward after spending 2 days in ICU due to complications from coronavirus infection. Meanwhile, Spain sees 17-day low in daily coronavirus deaths. This was after the country reported 605 new deaths from the virus, the lowest daily tally since March 23, bringing the total death toll in the country to 15,843, while cases rose to 157,022 infections and 55,668 recoveries. I am Adebola Brookslyn Sunday. Thanks for your time.
Back home, Nigeria's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic is one national response which must not be politicized or compromised with conflicting directives from the states. Chairman of the Presidential Task Force, Boss Mustapha, made this emphasis at the daily briefing in Abuja. Humanitarian tells us more.
The emphasis on one national response and collaboration to contain the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria became necessary following directives by some state governments allowing resumption of religious gatherings in the midst of the pandemic.
We have noted that some states have started lifting their ban or relaxing their containment protocols. And this is really not the right time to do so.
There's so much ground to be covered. We shouldn't allow ourselves to be distracted by unnecessary controversies. I want to once again appeal to all subnational entities to recognize the serious nature of this situation and to synergize with the federal government so that together we could win the war.
Minister of Aviation said the federal government will secure the release of the 2 pilots arrested and detained in Rivers State despite receiving approval for their operations.
So whether His Excellency the governor of Rivers State ought to know if the exempted Caverton flight will be landing in the military base in Port Harcourt, belonging to Nigerian Air Force. He does not need to know.
Nigerians were warned against treating symptoms of COVID-19 at home, but advised to report symptoms, if any, promptly to health professionals.
Public and private sector workers must also be reminded to maintain a high index of suspicion and not to treat all cases of cough and catarrh with levity.
We are seeing some early indications on community transmission. We had identified and are following up every day 91% of all the contacts of confirmed cases.
In the meantime, the task force says a national policy on the usage of the face mask will soon be unveiled, while appealing to Nigerians to continually practice personal hygiene and social distancing. In Abuja, Mitaire Ikben, NTA News.
And to curb the spread of COVID-19 across Nigeria, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, says the federal government is increasing measures in curbing the spread of COVID-19 in the country and wants state government, especially those sharing borders with neighboring countries, to be proactive in tracing cases. The minister disclosed this while appearing on NTA's Good Morning Nigeria, explaining that effort on containment and mitigation by the federal government remains on course. Lai Mohammed also stressed that every stakeholder must play his part in the fight at ending the pandemic in Nigeria.
For prevention, you need the cooperation of the populace. They need to listen to what the government is saying, especially through their various agencies like the Port Health, the Center for Disease Control, the Ministry of Health. And here is where we need especially the support of the state governors. They must prepare and work with the various health authorities.
The Minister of Information, who also cleared the ground on the Chinese assistance to Nigeria in the fight against COVID-19, said there are measures to increase the number of bed spaces for isolation of suspects, in addition to existing facilities, with Lagos State government already in the forefront.
Today, if you have the resources, you have the funds, those equipment are not available. South Korea has banned the exportation of anything that has to do with containment of COVID-19. There's a proverb that says that when somebody offers you a medicine as a cure for the ailment, you ask him 3 questions. Have you ever suffered that ailment before? When you did you use this drug? When you did it work? And this is exactly what we see in the case of the Chinese. But they are not coming to treat Nigerian patients.
Yeah,
they are coming to help us even build our own capacity.
Lai Mohammed added that Nigeria now have fewer cases of COVID-19 from returning travelers and wants citizens to take the social distance practice and self-isolation more seriously to curb community transmission of the disease in the country. To other matters now, today is Good Friday, known as Easter Friday. Many activities tend to be the order of the day, but with the enforced lockdown, most activities are confined to respective homes. How are some faithful observing the day? Here is Oyeyemi Ajayi, who visited some homes and filed in this report.
Good Friday is marked by Christians globally in reflection of the death of Jesus Christ. In different ways, faithful observe it in their own ways. For some, it is the gathering of the brethren in the church with admonition by the shepherd, and to others, it is time for evangelism. However, these activities are suspended in compliance with the lockdown enforced to curb and contain the coronavirus pandemic. Mrs. Beatrice Oboma is a Christian faithful.
My family and I, we visit an orphanage. We take things there. And people around us, they might not be able to do that because of the lockdown.
To Naomi, it's usually a day she finds time to visit families and friends. But that cannot be possible for now, as she has to observe the social distancing.
I miss friends because I feel like now we understand the importance of visiting friends. It really helps to calm you when everything at home is just not doing it for you.
Though despite the efforts in the fight against the virus, Mrs. Beatrice says the period provides faithful the opportunity to reflect on their lives and how to make amends when needs be. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
And President Muhammadu Buhari is felicitating with all Nigerians on the occasion of the celebration of this year's Easter. In his goodwill message, the president acknowledges the grip which COVID-19 has held the entire world, which is unprecedented in living memory. Majority of Christians have found themselves marking Easter in a subdued manner away from the usual congregation in churches. This he describes as unusual and very unfortunate. President Buhari enjoins Christians compatriots to rekindle their faith in Christ, who overcame persecution, suffering, and steadfastness. He also urged the adoption of humility, discipline, perseverance, and obedience which Jesus Christ demonstrated during his stay on earth, and gave assurance that with prayers backed by personal and collective discipline, the nation would put through this most difficult trial. President Buhari also commended the encouraging containment and ameliorating strategies put in place by members of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, while wishing Nigerians a happy Easter. Easter messages in the face of the coronavirus lockdown focuses on perseverance and cooperation with government at various levels in the fight against the pandemic. Elizabeth Omorie put together the messages of love sent at Easter.
Rest of Congress, in a statement by the National Publicity Secretary, Larry Isawonilu, appreciates the redemptive blessings of ultimate love, suffering, and sacrifice of Jesus Christ for the common good of mankind. The party advises collective responsibility in these unusual times to fight the coronavirus. The People's Democratic Party similarly urged Nigerians to use the period of Easter to pray fervently for a new Nigeria to emerge from the challenges of COVID-19. The PDP wishes all Nigerians a happy Easter celebration, urging them to live in peace with one another. Meanwhile, the President of the Senate, Hamid Lawan, believes this is a passing phase for Nigeria and the entire world, and that faith is a potential spiritual weapon for the pursuit of victory. Senator Lawan commends health workers in Nigeria and the resilience of Nigerians, and urged them to continue to cooperate with the government as it leads in the fight against coronavirus and its deleterious effects on the economy. House Speaker Femi Gbajabiamila also felicitates with the Christendom, admonishing them to imbibe the lessons of the season. The Speaker asks Christians to use the season to pray for the world to overcome the coronavirus pandemic and cooperate with government in its efforts to weather the storm. In the same vein, the chairman of the Northern Governors Forum and Governor of Plateau State, Simon Bakolalong, says this year's Easter provides a special opportunity to connect with the Lord Jesus Christ and seek his face as the world contains the coronavirus pandemic. The Northern Governors Forum calls on Christians to use the period and reflect on the virtues of sacrifice, love, and tolerance for sanctity of life, which Jesus Christ demonstrated through his death and resurrection. The Corps Marshal, Federal Road Safety Corps, Boboye Oyemi, in a message, tasks motorists to sustain adherence to the respective lockdown order and adhere to the maximum safety and health standards in vehicles amidst the rising case of COVID-19 in the country. The Corps Marshal, Dr. Boboye Oyemi, admonishes them to manifest love, care, and obedience to established laws so as to portray the lessons of the Holy Week in positive light. Still on Easter messages, the President of the Nigeria Labour Congress urges Nigerians to reflect on the lessons of the Holy Week. The NLC President also in strong terms condemns molestation of workers on essential duties. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari felicitates with foremost industrialist, investor and philanthropist Alhaji Aliko Dangote on the occasion of his 63rd birthday anniversary. Dangote, in a statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, President Buhari salutes the large-heartedness of Africa's wealthiest man, noting that it is one thing to be so blessed and another to use the wealth to the glory of God and for the good of humanity. According to the President, Alhaji Dangote has always stood to be counted whenever it mattered, judging by his generous contributions to the fight against polio, Ebola disease, the current coronavirus and many other challenges which have faced Nigeria and indeed the African continent. President Buhari praised God to grant the great son of Nigeria long life, good health and further successes in all areas of endeavor. You're watching the news at 9 on NTA. Let's take our first break. We'll be right back with more reports. Don't go away.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Glow Stay Home Data Plan. All existing Glow customers now enjoy up to 20% more data. Glow Unlimited.
In Nigeria, there is one sound we need to silence. So let's silence toothache before it starts with Oral-B All-Round Protection. Its advanced technology helps prevent both tooth hurts and gum problems that can lead to tooth loss. It strengthens your teeth, giving them all-round protection. Because the only sound we really want to hear is that of our future. For healthier, stronger teeth in 1 week.
As the world combats the novel coronavirus, also known as COVID-19, the Nigerian government is committing funds and donations are coming from the private sector to tackle the virus. The emergency response to COVID-19 should not be abused as an opportunity for corruption. Do not embezzle the funds. Do not extort money from patients. Observe due procurement processes. And all citizens must guard against the peddling of false information. Do the right thing. Integrity pays. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
Happiness can be found in the little things, even in just one smile. Stay positive, stay home, and stay nourished.
Maltina, share happiness.
Public service announcement. The general public, especially parents and caregivers, are hereby informed that all primary health care centers, PHCs, remain open throughout the country, including states with a lockdown order. The outbreak of the COVID-19 in the country should not affect the routine services provided by the PHCs. Governments at the national, state, and local levels have put in place measures for safe delivery of all primary health care services at PHC centers. I therefore urge parents and caregivers to continue, as usual, to take their children to the PHC PHCs closest to them for immunization, growth monitoring, antenatal care, childbirth, and other PHC-related service delivery. All caregivers, health workers, and Nigerians are advised to obey all government guidelines on social distancing, frequent hand washing, self-isolation, etc. throughout the period of the COVID-19 outbreak. Dr. Faisal Schwaib, Executive Director, CEO, National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, announcer.
The main way coronavirus spread is when infected people sneeze and cough. Small droplets of fluid expelled by cough or sneezes are laced with viruses looking for new respiratory tracts to infect. When a sick person sneezes around someone who is healthy, the virus can land in the nose, mouth, or even the eyes, causing an infection. Symptoms can include fever, cough, shortness of breath. Symptoms may appear within 2 to 14 days. Seek medical advice if you develop symptoms and have been in close contact with a person known to have COVID-19, or if you live or have recently been in an area with ongoing spread of COVID-19. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network. There is a lot of fake news and report circulating, especially on social media, on the coronavirus. Do not believe or partake in the spread of these fake reports. If it is not on the official website or news from the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, NCDC, disregard such report. Only together can we beat this virus. Only together can we overcome this pandemic. Follow the instructions and guidelines provided to combat this virus. Most importantly, stay at home. Self-isolate, regardless of your status. The virus doesn't move unless we move. Let us work together to better Nigeria. Together, we can do this. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, Africa's largest television network.
Thanks for rejoining us. The participating OPEC and non-OPEC oil-producing countries at the 9th OPEC and non-OPEC extraordinary meeting has adjusted downwards their overall crude oil production by 10.010 million barrels per day, starting on 1st May 2020 for an initial period of 2 months to conclude on 30th June 2020. Elizabeth Omori has details.
For the subsequent period of 6 months, from 1st of July 2020 to 31st of December 2020, the total adjustment agreed will be 8 million barrels per day, to be followed by a 6 million barrels per day adjustment for a period of 16 months, from 1st to 30th of January 2021. The baseline for the calculation of the adjustments is the oil production of October 2018, except for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and the Russian Federation, both with the same baseline level of 11.0 million barrels per day. The decision, signed at the 9th OPEC and non-OPEC ministerial meeting, will be valid until 30th of April 2022. However, the extension of the decision will be reviewed December 2021. All other countries have agreed except Mexico. OPEC is calling on all major producers to contribute to the efforts aimed at stabilizing the market. Participating countries will meet again on the 10th of June 2020 via web-based seminar to determine further actions as needed to balance the markets.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And joining me now via Skype is Nigeria's immediate past governor for OPEC and current Secretary General African Petroleum Producers Organization, Dr. Omar Farouk Ibrahim. You're welcome to Network News.
Thank you.
An existing cooperation between OPEC and OPEC Plus members, it was an Herculean task reaching an agreement. Why is that so, and what is the implication of a cut in production by 10 million barrels per day for the next 2 months?
Well,
can you hear me?
The challenge, yeah. The challenge started before Corona, but it got worsened by that. It wasn't difficult. It wasn't easy getting an agreement. First First, between Saudi Arabia and Russia, and subsequently between OPEC and non-OPEC as a group, and one member, that is Mexico. But thank God, meeting that started at 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon and ended 2 a.m. this morning was able to resolve all the issues. And we've been able to have a deal.
Okay, Dr. Umar, the global oil industry is currently bleeding, and more so far producing nations who depend solely on oil revenue. So is there any hope of revival for these economies?
It is going to be a very tough year, and even next year, I believe, for the industry. One, we already have a lot of glut on the market as a result of overproduction by the two major producers, Saudi Arabia and Russia, and more importantly also by the destruction of our demand. Currently, we are talking about 35 million barrels in terms of destruction, demand destruction. With the agreement that has been reached, that from May 1, we are going to have 10 million barrels cut, with the expectation that the countries that are producing but are not in OPEC, non-OPEC agreement are going to also contribute about 5 million, making a total of 15 million. Hopefully, if this goes through, there will be some sense of balancing, but it will take a while to do that. And the information we are getting out now is that that bill with the 5 million has not been able to go through.
So you say it will take a while to, do that. Energy ministers of G20 nations just concluded a meeting today, still on stabilizing the global market. Do you see this making any difference?
The energy ministers meeting we expected was going to come up with a decision endorsing our expectation that 5 million barrels will be contributed by them. Unfortunately, the communique is yet to be out, but the information we are getting is that there is no definitive statement to that effect.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Omar Farouk Ibrahim. He was the past governor for OPEC and current Secretary General African Petroleum Producers Organization, APPO. Thank you so much for coming on Network News. Appreciate your effort. Well, back here in the studio, the House of Representatives has demanded for an end to the alleged inhuman treatment of Nigerians in China. A statement from Larry Lasisi, the Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to the Speaker, Femi Gbajabiamila, indicates that the House leadership at a meeting with the Chinese ambassador to Nigeria, Xi Jinping, expressed displeasure over the treatment meted out on some Nigerians by the Chinese authorities in Beijing. The Speaker said viral media reports, videos from Beijing showing Nigerians being forced out of their houses and hotels, rounded up and their passports seized by the Chinese police should be investigated. In his response, Ambassador Pingjin said that he has not been officially informed about the details of the incidents. He promised to take it up with his home government and acknowledge the relationship between Nigeria and China, which he stressed is mutual. Well, moving on now, the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, has drawn the attention of governors to President Muhammadu Buhari's approval and authorization for urgent measures to be taken towards the speedy deconcession of correctional cordial centers in the country in view of the COVID-19 pandemic. A statement by Dr. Umar Jibril Gwandu, Special Assistant on Media and Public Relations to the Minister, states that the inmate population at the various correctional centers are presently housing inmates beyond their capacities. Malami said the development poses a potent threat to the health of the inmates and the public, hence the need for urgent steps to bring the situation under control. He said, in light light of the above, Mr. President requires all governors to request their state chief judges to embark on visits to all correctional centers within their respective states to identify and release deserving inmates. Where that has not been done, it adds, governors have been given approval to take measures to facilitate the setting up of their respective state prerogative of mercy committees in order to recommend deserving cases for release on grounds of pardon or clemency in line with constitutional provision. And the Nigerian Medical Association has cautioned against relaxing lockdown order issued to curb the spread of COVID-19. A statement signed by both the President, Dr. Francis Fadu-Yile, and Secretary General, Dr. Olorunuyiwa Odoshote, notes that the relaxing of lockdowns for Jumat prayers and Easter services will only heighten and not flatten the curve of transmission dynamics. It urged authorities concerned to recede the decision in the interest of safety of lives and implore the Nigerian police force and other security agencies ensure that such gatherings do not take place. It's now set for the takeoff of Kano Reference Laboratory that will serve as COVID-19 testing center for the Northwest Zone. This came to light during an assessment visit to the facility by the Kano State Deputy Governor Nasiru Yusuf Gowon. Abdullahi Mustafa has details.
Establishment of additional reference laboratories is among the proactive measures being taken by the federal government to curtail the spread of COVID-19. The measure is to facilitate speedy analysis of samples that previously had to be taken to Abuja and few other locations. Established by the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the facility is situated within the premises of the Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital. With the capacity to handle 120 samples a day, the COVID-19 testing center is expected to serve states in the Northwest Zone. Kano State Deputy Governor Nasiru Yusuf Gowon, who also chairs the State Task Force on COVID-19, expressed satisfaction with the development.
The promise that has been made by NCDC has been fulfilled. We are appreciative of the government of President Muhammadu Buhari for doing this and for setting up these centers.
During a meeting earlier, Chief Medical Director of the Aminu Kano Teaching Hospital, Professor Abdurrahman Abbasheshi, also disclosed plans to establish another testing center by the Bayero University's College of Health Sciences to complement the one set up by the NCDC. In Kano, Abdullahi Mustafa, NTA News.
As Nigerians continue to battle the dreaded coronavirus pandemic, former Governor of Ogun State, Senator Ibikunle Amosun, has distributed food palliative packages to communities across the state to cushion the effect of COVID-19 lockdown. Lekon Ambode reports that not less than 25,000 families benefited from the gesture.
No doubt, the coronavirus pandemic has spiraled into a global threat. In Nigeria, the federal government has declared a lockdown to fight this common enemy. This has resulted in uncertainty with hunger on the faces of people. To cushion this effect, government, non-government organizations, and well-meaning Nigerians have been making efforts to feed the masses. Former Governor of Ogun State, Ibikunle Amosun, is one illustrious son of the state who derives pleasure in giving, and he has been in the vanguard of such gesture since the coronavirus broke out.
This is the first tranche of the food items for about 25,000 households in about 3,210 polling units in Ogun State. Courtesy former Governor, Senator Ibikunle Amosun.
A 10-kilogram and 5-kilogram bags of rice, gari, noodles and vegetable oil, all in one pack to each person, regardless of political, religious or social standing across the polling units in the state.
In fact, he has been doing it, not during this COVID-19 pandemic alone. This is very, very wonderful. And the arrangement is so fantastic.
Sent us food items for relief package towards this COVID-19 that is happening throughout the world to distribute it to all members of our community here.
The beneficiaries expressed gratitude to the former governor for the gesture. In Abeokuta, Lekon Agbonde, NTA News.
And for more on containment of COVID-19 in Nigeria, let's join Jennifer Igwe in Lagos. Hello, Jennifer.
Jumai. Now, Lagosians are full of appreciation to the federal government for fulfilling its promise to bring succor to the vulnerable, even as the government battles the coronavirus. Annie Daniels reports that this was during the distribution of palliatives to the vulnerables in the state by the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajia Sadia Umar Farouk.
Though the Lagos State government has already commenced the distribution of palliatives to the vulnerable in the state, Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development, Hajia Sadia Umar Farouk, noted that the incentives coming from the federal government is to further ensure that no single vulnerable person is left out.
It's a program that has been in existence for quite some time, but Mr. President directed that we expand the intervention to also include other vulnerable groups, especially the market money and trader money.
A total of 600 bags of rice and 2 trucks of vegetable oil were presented to the state government.
We want to thank Mr. President very well for continuing to be the father of the nation and continue to lead the nation at this time. We're aware that they have started intervention in other parts of the country even before they got in here.
Meanwhile, the Nigerian Customs Service Federal Operating Unit Zone 2, in accordance with President Muhammadu Buhari's directive, officially handed over 24,000 bags of rice, 2,500 cartons of tomato paste, 120 cartons of noodles, 45 cartons of sugar, among other items.
We are confident that with the support of all, and suddenly you will come out successful.
These items are to be distributed to states. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
And to the ports.
Welcome to our wonderful world of data with these incredible new offers from your #1 4G network nationwide. Glow Unlimited.
Wake up, nothing can hold us down.
Breakfast your day, every day.
Nestle, good food, good life.
What we are really cultivating here is a better future for all Nigerian women, and it's not always easy. Panadol Extra relieves headache, backache, joint pain, toothache, and menstrual pain. The pain is worth it.
Coronavirus is dangerous. It can kill. When you see this sign, high fever, cough, shortness of breath, drowsiness, pneumonia, don't panic, don't hide, don't embark in self-medication. Promptly visit the nearest medical facility. Report all cases to the nearest hospital. Prevention is key. Avoid contact with infected persons. Avoid crowded areas as much as possible. Wash your hands regularly. Use hand sanitizers. Your life is precious. Stay alive. Live long. Live right. This message is sponsored by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture and the Nigerian Film Corporation. Nigerian Film Corporation, powering possibility.
Alpha, say tomorrow still day on.
What's your tomorrow?
Community meeting now.
You know they here, Abi?
Now beggy. See, if we meet for my house, inside parlor, then go no.
This COVID-19 is not a child's play.
If you want to elect a new secretary, we fit
do one for WhatsApp, or for Skype, or even on Zoom. Or we just wait.
I will not negotiate
this social distancing. It is not negotiable.
Not every infected person shows symptoms, but every infected person is contagious. Avoid large gatherings and self-isolate if you think you might have come in contact with a carrier. Your safety and the safety of others is in your hands.
This message is from the Akinfade Foundation in partnership with the National Orientation Agency with support from MacArthur Foundation.
Make your home the place to be with GoTV's super cool kids channels.
That sounds fun.
From funky friends that'll keep even the little ones busy.
All right, everybody, let's do this!
To learn as you watch educational shows for curious young minds.
You can do some amazing things.
There's plenty for everyone. Tune in to our kids shows and get everything you need to keep the kids entertained and learning the fun way. GoTV. Live it, love it.
It's good to know you're still there. It's one thing to see and have a need and another to fashion out ways of addressing the need. This, the National Youth Service Corps NYSC is doing by presenting handmade face masks to government as the nation continues to work towards combating COVID-19 pandemic. Olayinka Ojo reports.
Great economies of the world today depend on the contributions of entrepreneurs. This belief is what made the NYSC introduce the skills acquisition and entrepreneurial development into the scheme more than 7 years ago in different skill sets. For youth corps members who chose fashion designing, the orientation camp is where the acquisition of the fashion skills began. And as the world continued to contain the spread of COVID-19, the NYSC decided to produce face mask as part of their contribution to the fight against the pandemic.
Instead of us going home to go and rest like every other person is just resting and sleeping, hiding away from the sickness, why not we come out, do this face mask?
We were encouraged by the ministry. There's a need for us also to think out of the box to see what the NYSC can bring to bear.
But because of social distancing, two among the youth corps members, led by the Director General of the NYSC, Brigadier General Shuaibu Ibrahim, decided to present the face masks to the Ministry of Youth and Sports Development for onward presentation to government.
What the corpers have done here is not just to wait for happenstance to come upon us. All we want to do as a nation is to see how we can promote local production.
The NYSC also took upon itself to produce liquid soap and hand sanitizers, which they distributed to the poor and the vulnerable. Olayinka Ojo, NTA News.
We'll take our third break. When we return, more reports.
For now, the best and most efficient way to avoid getting infected is through regular hygienic and sanitary practices, as well as social distancing. As individuals, we remain the greatest weapon to fight this pandemic. By washing our hands regularly with clean water and soap, disinfecting frequently used surfaces and areas, coughing into a tissue or elbow, and strictly adhering to infection prevention control measures in health facilities, we can contain this virus.
Coronavirus is real. Steps to avoid this pandemic. Wash your hands regularly or sanitize your hands. Keep social and physical distancing. Avoid crowded places. Stay at home unless absolutely necessary. Don't touch your eyes, nose or mouth if your hands are not clean. Avoid the spread of coronavirus. Coronavirus is real.
Thanks for rejoining us. The Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR, has commended the efforts of the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 for the unwavering commitment to contain the pandemic in Nigeria. In a statement by the President and Chairman, Governing Council of the Institute, Mokhtar Zubairu Siraju, said the synergy between the Federal Ministry of Health and its agencies, such as the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, is commendable. Hence, the acknowledgement by the World Health Organization on excellent performance by Nigeria. NIPR also commended the Nigerian media for cooperating with the government on public sensitization against coronavirus. The chairman, CEO Nigerians in the Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri Erewa, has reiterated the resolve of the federal government to ensure the protection of all Nigerians wherever they are. This is coming on the heels of reports that some Nigerians are protesting on the streets of Guangzhou, China. She advised them to report to the Nigerian mission in Guangzhou rather than roaming the streets. To resolve the impasse, series of meetings have been held between Nigeria and Chinese officials to resolve the issues, while the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Geoffrey Onyema, has also met with the Chinese ambassador in Nigeria on the issue. Odion Igalo awaits Manchester United's contract offer, as Tamara Ibiwe reports on our sports updates.